Welcome to Bloodbath and Beyond. Today we review The Devil's Rejects. Hell doesn't want them, hell doesn't need them, hell doesn't love them, the world rejects them.
Directed by Rob Zombie, starring Sid Haig, Bill Moseley, Sheri Moon Zombie, and William Forsythe, The Devil's Rejects is the second installment of the Firefly franchise that follows Captain Spaulding, Baby, and Otis Driftwood are fleeing for their lives after a showdown with the law. So what do we like?
I absolutely loved the dialogue in this film. There's something about Rob Zombie movies, just the banter and the monologues.
I am the devil, and I am here to do the devil's work.
I love listening to Bill Moseley speak, and in this film, he does a great job just delivering his lines, but also you get that like fun bickering nature between Captain Spaulding and Baby and Otis.
Yeah, just basically like, fuck you, no, fuck you.
I think I'm gonna get me some tutti fucking fruity.
Tutti fucking fruity, that sounds good.
Tutti fucking fruity.
Shut up.
Tutti fucking fruity.
The dialogue is just so good. It not only adds humor
What's the matter, kid? Don't you like clowns?
and like character building aspects to each of the characters, but it also makes things super awkward, especially when you get into situations where you have Otis and Baby coercing like a family to get undressed or do whatever they basically want. Their dialogue cements the fact that not only are their actions fucked, but they are fucked as people. What I think that Rob Zombie does really well in his films is the fact that we are rooting for these assholes the whole time. Like, he's done such a good job building these characters for the audience to love when everything they're doing is just such depravity and we're sitting here rooting for them. It's crazy.
All right, so we have our home out of state with 1,000 corpses, and this one with 75 corpses. We just brutally murder people for fun.
And boy, would I definitely fall victim to Baby. All those holes in those jeans,
You love that baby booty.
we're not calling it that anymore.
But that's what's fun about this film, is when you're a horror fan, deep down inside, you kind of want to root for the bad guys. Sure, you want to root for Laurie in Halloween, but I mean, you like Michael.
You want Michael to do this business. You need him to kill. You need Jason to slash up some counselors.
You need Freddy to like get into your dreams.
You need Captain Spaulding and Otis and Baby to kill anyone in their way for absolutely no reason.
I was also a big fan of the cast overall. We had a lot of cameos in this film. E.G. Daly, who is a babe.
What you looking at?
I'm looking at you, mama.
Yeah, you see something you like?
Who also is the voice of Tommy Pickles.
But my personal favorites happen to be Diamond Dallas Page and Danny Trejo as our badass bounty hunters.
I think Charlie and his pairing with Michael Berryman was also great.
You know, them losers want to fuck Princess Leia, right?
Hot fucker.
Thank you.
I don't know. You start messing with that spacey shit and you really bring out some sick bitches.
Charlie is like the pimp bordello guy who somehow is Captain Spaulding's brother. And their back and forth is exactly what you would expect.
Well, if you give me a chance, I was gonna call you a crazy pig fucking dumbass pussy piece of shit.
Oh, brother, you's a dead man.
And just like any Rob Zombie movie, one of my favorite aspects is the whole atmosphere, the aesthetic, the set dressing, what people are wearing. Like, it almost looks like a period piece, but we actually don't know what period it takes place in. It seems like it's 70s, but maybe because it's somewhat inspired by Texas Chainsaw. It has this great look to it, and everything seems grimy and gritty and just places you don't want to be, and you know damn well that every person in this movie smells like cigarettes.
And that also goes to the style of transitions that he uses. This does give the grindhouse feel. Even like the texture of the film where you can see like the grain in every single shot.
And to add on to this to make it feel even grungier than what we've already explained is the sheer brutality and the not give a fuck attitude of our characters. When there are beatings, they are brutal and unrelenting. And just everything is done with purpose and fucking power. Now, what didn't we like?
Surprisingly enough, it's the gore factor of this film. Considering that our three characters are downright psychotic and actually brutal with their actions, you would think that the practical and gore effects would be more of a standout, and it's not.
And while there are some really intense moments, there's also a few weird CG scenes that kind of stand out, specifically with the knife throw. That seemed really strange. I've seen blood on breast in a number of films, and that looks like CG blood to me. Well, I did like the sheriff's side story, and it's important to kind of build up this protagonist, kind of. At the same time, I think they focused on it a little bit too much, or maybe they just didn't build him up properly, because everyone's going to think he's an asshole, and everyone's going to want him to die when the polar opposite should be true. And again, this could be just like a Rob Zombie thing. Like, I assume that anything in a Rob Zombie film that we dislike was done with purpose. And you know damn well anything that he didn't like would have been left on the cutting room floor. But that doesn't excuse the fact that I disliked the sheriff.
George Wydell, who was the sheriff in the first one, it's his brother. We're establishing this backstory and this like idea of revenge. But when you look at Otis and you look at everyone else in this film, it makes it seem as though it's happening right after the end of House of a Thousand Corpses, but it doesn't feel like that.
And to touch on at least one spoilery aspect that happens towards the end of the film, Baby makes some weird decisions considering the way that her character has been built. She has been built up to be this very like power hungry person. She's very aggressive. She's a fighter through and through, yet the first minute that she gets up out of her seat, she just runs. And she forgets her family, which is the most important thing in her entire life. And she just runs away and leaves them to die.
It's all because we had to have that Deus Ex Machina moment with Tiny.
Exactly.
You knew Tiny was going to save them because the very like first scene we see is Tiny not going into the house after the cops break into the place. So at some point when they're coming back to the house, you know Tiny's alive and he's going to save the day.
We actually did a commentary and we spoke on this. If you want to check out the full commentary, links in the description on our Patreon. Peep that, it's great. We also have House of a Thousand Corpses if you're interested. I have absolutely no idea what Tiny's been doing, just dragging people around for a long time. Now it's time for our final thoughts and ratings. The Devil's Rejects is a worthy successor to House of a Thousand Corpses. We have a familiar cast that takes on some of our favorite characters. You give a shit about everybody. You're behind them. You don't want them to get caught by the cops, and you want them to do whatever they possibly can to get out of harm's way. They're so likable, and I think that's the best quality of a Rob Zombie film. I also really enjoyed the atmosphere and how everything looked. It just felt disgusting, grimy, and this is one of those movies that I could revisit again in a year and love just as much. I did have some issues with the sheriff aspect. Maybe that dragged a little bit, but at the end of the day, I think this is one of Rob Zombie's strongest films, so I'm gonna give this 4 chicken fuckers out of 5.
Do you fuck chickens?
Boy over there looks sexually frustrated, and I don't approve of chicken fuck.
You hear what he called me, boss? I ain't
My mistake, my mistake.
Considering what House of a Thousand Corpses was, I felt as though The Devil's Rejects did a good job separating itself, but also tying into the universe, because we get the characters that we love in Otis, Captain Spaulding, and Baby coming back and reprising their roles, but it's a very different style from what House of a Thousand Corpses was. This is more of a grindhouse, escape from the law, Western style of movie. And I do feel as though the gore was lacking in this movie, but I'm not watching this film for the gore. I'm watching it for the story, and I'm enjoying the dialogue and wondering if these characters, who I should hate, are gonna get out alive. Overall, it's an enjoyable movie and it's a great sequel to House of a Thousand Corpses, and also a good standalone film if you haven't even seen House of a Thousand Corpses. It's great, I do recommend it. So with that being said, I'm gonna give this film 4 life goals out of 5.
Hey Roy, I was doing some research on that thing I was telling you about.
What thing?
Rodeo clowning.
Rodeo?
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video, comment below, and shout out to Sid Haig's balls. If you guys want to hear the full commentary, again, Patreon link is in the description. House of a Thousand Corpses, Devil's Rejects, a ton of other stuff. You'll probably enjoy it, I can't promise anything. No money back guarantee, sorry. Anyway, if you haven't seen this movie, you need to watch it regardless. with or without our commentary. Link is also in the description. And if it's your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel, stay updated with everything Bloodbath and beyond.